Good evening. I'm Sean Roman, pinch hitting for Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I'm Anthony Strait.
And this is On the Sports Lines, the NFL Training Camp Edition. The third week of July means only one thing to NFL fans. Training camp is about to get underway.
Yes, sir.
Tonight, we'll talk with a couple of old friends about what to watch for as the Jets and Giants open their camps. We'll debate a burning question for each team and tell you what's atop the to-do list for three coaches as they head into their first training camp with their new teams. As always, we would absolutely love to hear from you. So please email us at fanspeak@onthesportslines.com. Send your tweets to @onthesportslines and your posts to facebook.com/onthesportslines.
Want to bring it back?
We just may read them on the show. The Giants are coming off a 6-10 season that resulted in Ben McAdoo replacing Tom Coughlin. To help us break down the issues facing the Giants as they open camp, we are happy to welcome back to the show Joe Turfaro, who is the Giants analyst for the website Last Word on Sports. Welcome back, Joe.
Welcome back, Joe.
Hey guys, how is everybody today?
All right, we are going to start with Steve and a question for you.
Hey, Joe, it's Steve Ferguson. How are you?
Good, Steve. How you doing today?
Good, very good, thank you. My question to you, Joe, is this. What is the status of Victor Cruz, and what's the plan if he can't play?
Well, Victor's looked very good in non-contact movement throughout OTAs and also in some little practices he's been doing on the side. He's a big social media guy, Victor is, and he's been posting video of him doing different moves and cutting on his leg and showing that his calf is okay. Of course, this isn't contact yet, and we don't know exactly how precise and perfect his route running can be. And you have to remember, in the Giants' offense, there's no route tree. It's get open versus the defense that they show you. So we have to see if his quickness is back and see if he's actually able to make these moves against defenders. If something happens there and he can't go again, it's funny because I actually wrote this last week on the site. There are 12 wide receivers in camp for the New York Giants.
Wow, really?
12 guys on the roster.
Wow.
So they are prepared to go deep and far and wide and find somebody to take that spot. Either with the addition of Sterling Shepard and a few other gentlemen on the roster. But there are 12 guys coming to camp at the wide receiver spot. So I'm not worried about them finding somebody to fill the role.
I can see why you wouldn't be.
Joe, it's Jay. How are you, my friend?
Good, man. You always get me on travel day. I'm always going somewhere with you guys.
Hey,
this show.
It's your fault you schedule your vacations around our NFL training camp show.
That's
So,
right.
Ben McAdoo spent the last 2 years as Tom Coughlin's offensive coordinator. He considers Coughlin a mentor. Now that he's taking over, how much will change with McAdoo, and how much of Coughlin's influence will remain the same as McAdoo opens up his first camp?
Yeah, Jay, I think the reason McAdoo's there is because there's not going to be a lot of change. I think this is an evolution more than a transition.
Okay.
They're keeping the clock set at 5 minutes ahead.
Yes, sir.
They're into doing the same thing with having a saying for the team to rally around. There's going to be a lot of what Tom did. It made sense. All of the other coaching choices that they interviewed, really none of them made sense. Ben McAdoo, who was going to be under contract, so you're going to have to pay him anyway, so you might as well have kept him. But, Eli has really thrived under him.
Mm-hmm.
The offense has really moved forward. the ownership of the New York Giants knows it does not want to be in the position of the New York Jets in that they're looking for a franchise quarterback. They have one for the next, we can argue this point some other time. They have a franchise quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years, 3 years, 6 years. You need to win again with Eli because you have no idea what's coming down the road afterwards.
Right.
And so they wanted to keep this as smooth, as simple as possible, keep the offense clicking. That was in the top 8 in the league last year. Bring in some more weapons, try to solidify the offensive line, and get them another championship with Eli, and then worry about what comes down the road afterwards.
All right.
Joe, how you doing? It's Anthony.
Hey, man, how are you?
Doing all right. The Giants come into training camp with 6 new starters on the defensive side of football. My question to you is, which of the new defensive acquisitions will you be keeping an eye on during training camp?
You know, I put a lot of thought into this because, there's a lot of different answers that come out of here, but I think I'm more interested in seeing if Eli Apple, their number 1 draft pick, is NFL ready, and can he step in and be a slot corner? You have DRC on one side, you have Janoris Jenkins on the other. If this kid can walk in and show some talent, and everyone says he's a bright kid, everyone says he's a hard worker. The quick story I'll tell you is Justin Tuck mentioned it in his retirement speech that 2 days after the draft, Eli Apple called him and said, I want to know how to be a success in New York.
Wow.
So he's working towards being a superstar. He knows what it's going to take. That you take hard work, and you don't just show up in New York and become something.
Right.
So if he can become that third guy, on the field, and Jerry Reese said it, even if you have 3 cornerbacks, you're still probably short 1 or 2.
That's true.
In this league these days. But if you could put him at nickel corner and have those other 2 guys play one-on-one, and then there's also 7 safeties in coming to camp this year to try to figure that position out. This defense could get back to where it should be with the other acquisitions. But I'd like to see how he develops in a full camp and see if he can stay healthy and be productive.
Sounds good.
And that is Joe Turfaro from The Last Word on Sports. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Joe.
All right, guys, it is time now to weigh in on a burning question for the New York Giants as they open camp. If Victor Cruz is not healthy by week 1, which Giants receiver needs to step up?
Steve.
I think that would be Sterling Shepard, and all the reports on this guy say he will be a great third receiver for the Giants for many reasons. Number 1, he was Oklahoma State's top wide receiver. Every year at Oklahoma State, this guy improved. He had 28 touchdowns his senior year. He is fast, physical, runs his routes exceptionally well, and really has a great understanding of the game. So I think he'll be fine.
Anthony.
I say Dwayne Harris. He's the Pro Bowler for the Giants on special teams. He actually played admirably well as a third guy. The problem is with him is his route run is a little bit suspect, a little bit shaky. Coming into training camp, the Giants have been talking about taking more shots downfield.
Right.
Harris is the speed guy. He contributed close to 400 yards, 4 touchdown receptions last year. And remember the game against New Orleans, he really played well.
Yep.
But if they can use him as more as a deep threat outside of Odell Beckham, maybe he can step it up.
Jay.
You know what? I'm going to go with a guy that Joel brought to our attention a couple of years ago, and that's Larry Donnell as a tight end. I think if he rediscovers his 2014 form, caught 63 balls, 623 yards, 6 touchdowns, this gives Eli another option in the passing game if they once again have to do without Cruz. And in this day and age, a quarterback needs as many throwing options as he can get.
That's right.
Okay, turning now to the Jets, who are coming off the reverse season from the Giants, 10-6, that saw them just miss the playoffs. To help us break down the issues facing the team as they open camp, we are also happy to welcome back to the show Dennis Agapito, who co-hosts Green Zone Radio. Welcome back, Dennis.
Welcome back, Dennis.
Welcome back, Dennis.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Dennis, my man, it's Jay. Good to hear from you again.
As always, Jay, a pleasure to speak with you.
So, the burning question, which I think we can both agree has been dragging on way too long, is the drama that is Ryan Fitzpatrick's contract situation. What's it going to take to get a deal done with this guy and get him into camp?
Well, it's a pretty simple answer: more money. I mean, let's face it, Sam Bradford got a 2-year deal for around $36 million, and the Jets are offering a 3-year deal to Fitzpatrick for $24 million. It's $12 million the first year, and then $6 million and $6 million. And what if Fitzpatrick has to be the starter all 3 years? That seems a little bit underpriced for him. So I think that the Jets kind of have to really take a hard look at those last 2 years and sit down and negotiate a little bit and maybe make a little bit of a tweak and adjustment to get him in the door.
Do you see him coming in anytime during training camp, or is this going to drag on into the season?
No, the Jets can't let it drag on into the season because that's not fair to Geno Smith. A lot of people are
Agreed.
kind of putting a deadline. Look, a deadline might actually spur action like it did with Wilkerson. If they put a deadline on this Jets, and at some point in time they're going to have to, that might get them to the negotiating table. But the bottom line is this. This offer's been on the table since March.
Right.
Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't signed it. He's not signing the offer as is right now. He's not bluffing. The Jets are going to have to entice him, raise the offer, and that will get him in the door.
All right, let's hope so.
Where would he wind up, theoretically, if they don't sign him?
Good question.
Nobody's calling. Dennis, any thoughts on those rumors he's going to New England?
Oh, my gosh.
No, I don't believe the New England rumors.
I don't
but
either.
You know what?
No.
But you know what, guys? You have to keep this in mind, and things go on behind the scenes. And his agent, Jimmy Sexton, is no slouch. And, the Dallas Cowboys are a team that I've looked at for a long time. Kellen Moore is their backup. Remember what happened to them last year when they lost Tony Romo? I mean, they were better than a 4-12 team. They would have
That's a good
loved to
point.
have had Ryan Fitzpatrick. Or Denver. I don't discount Denver because Trevor Siemian is apparently winning the quarterback battle there.
Well, that's a scary thought.
You know what? Look, we know what happens during the NFL season. Quarterback is a premium position.
Yep.
The best quarterback on the open market right now is Ryan Fitzpatrick. One way or another, he will play in the NFL this year. Will he play for $12 million? Maybe, maybe not. But if he plays under a 1-year deal for another team, he can throw his hat into the ring next year as a starter again and hope to get paid.
Yep. Steve.
Dennis, it's Steve Ferguson. How are you?
Great, Steve. Always wonderful to talk with you.
Thank you. My question is, and it's the age-old question that every Jet fan has, including me, and that is, can the Jets win with Geno Smith as the starting quarterback?
Well, I think the better question there, Steve, is Woody Johnson willing to risk going into this season where the Jets have a very difficult start with Geno Smith as the quarterback and not bringing Ryan Fitzpatrick back because of money? Woody Johnson said last season that the Jets needed to spend money, and they did, and this year as well. So if they go 1-6 with Geno Smith as a starter and don't bring Ryan Fitzpatrick back, then there'll be pandemonium in Jets Nation. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Is right now, looking at it from an owner's perspective, is can you not bring back a guy who had 31 touchdown passes last year? Look, with Green Zone Radio, I had the privilege of covering several games last year, including a game in London. I saw the respect that Ryan Fitzpatrick had in that locker room, the love between himself and the linemen, himself and the receivers. I don't think that Geno Smith carries the same kind of weight that Ryan Fitzpatrick did in the locker room. I just can't see that Ryan Fitzpatrick's not going to come back and be a Jet under center starting September 11th.
Wrap it up.
Anthony.
Dennis, hi. How you doing? This is Anthony.
Hi, Anthony.
I'm doing great. Just to throw it out there, I am wearing Jet colors tonight, so you'll be very happy
Yes,
about
he is.
that. Okay.
Good man.
Out is Chris Ivory, in comes Matt Forte. My question to you is, what does Matt Forte bring to the Jet offense that Chris Ivory didn't bring the last 2 seasons?
Well, I mean, there are different types of first of all, different types of runners. Chris Ivory is a very physical downhill runner. Matt Forte is more of a slasher, uses his speed. Also, Matt Forte is a little more versatile in the passing game. You can see Shane Gailey kind of moving him around a little bit. Chris Ivory did catch dirty balls last year, but it was always kind of a surprise when he caught a screen pass. Kind of put the defense off guard. I think the defense will be looking for Matt Forte a little bit more in the passing game, but probably a little bit less in the running game and a little bit more in the passing game and production-wise.
All right, Dennis. And that's Dennis Agapito, co-host of Green Zone Radio. All right, guys.
Thanks, Dennis.
It's
Thank you.
time
Thank you, guys.
to
Take
turn
care.
to a burning question about the Jets. And it deals with Ryan Fitzpatrick. If they can't get this deal done, he didn't answer that all too specifically. So I want you guys
I can tell you,
No, you
Dennis
didn't.
has no confidence in him.
how good are the Jets going to be with Geno Smith starting out?
Steven.
Well, I'm probably the only one who's going to give him some kudos here. I will say they may not be as good, and that will be more a question of the lack of experience that Geno Smith has. But Geno Smith has a couple of things going for him. One, he has actually a better throwing arm throwing the deep pass, which with the wide receivers they have, that could mean a big difference, whereas with Fitzpatrick, it's more of a stretch for him to do it. Secondly, he's had a chance to actually learn and sit back for a year and watch what Fitzpatrick's doing and watch Chan Gailey. And I think third, a lot of the other question is the team is much better. This is not the John Idzik era. You actually have some talent here, including Matt Forte. So I think he can do a good job, but I'm not sure he'll be as good as Fitzpatrick.
I'm going to say zero confidence. You know why? Because I think when I think of Geno Smith, I think of the Monday Night Football game a couple years ago against Miami. We only threw 13 passes for an entire game.
That was Rex Ryan's deal.
Yeah, but Geno Smith, he has the arm strength. The problem is the mechanics. He's throwing too much off his back foot. He doesn't read defenses very well. No. And the problem is, and Dennis mentioned this, he does not have the command of the offensive huddle. That's where leadership quality comes in. Fitzpatrick has that. Geno Smith, after everything that happened last year with the broken jaw, I don't think he has that kind of respect from his teammates.
It's a good point, Anthony.
Everybody was good at training camp.
Let me ask you this. Just comment on this. It's a follow-up. Do you think, you've been in a football locker room yourself, that Geno Smith got himself into a problem where he owed a teammate money, and then did he lose face by getting knocked out by a teammate?
I think it's
looking weak in that
sense.
sense?
I think it's the circumstances behind that incident that really makes Geno looks a little weak in the eyes of his teammates. Not only the punch itself, but the incident behind it that makes it stand out.
I think you're right.
I got to corroborate this. I mean, as somebody who's played quarterback and been in a locker room like that, in a huddle, if you don't have, it's one thing to not have issues with command of your offense. If you don't have command of your teammates, that's even worse. I mean, this is a guy who not only is making bad decisions off the field, he makes bad decisions with the ball on the field. 35 interceptions, 15 fumbles, lost 10. Quarterback rating of 72. This, to me, does not scream resume of a playoff quarterback. Now, the fans can hate on Fitz all they want for the Buffalo game, but without him, they're not even in a game where they have a chance to get to the playoffs. Geno Smith's not going to do it for him.
Give a quick shout-out to where you played quarterback. I got to hear it. I played high school quarterback way back in the day.
Give a shout-out.
Christopher Columbus High School.
Beautiful. There we go.
It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
The Eagles, the Browns, and the 49ers open training camp with new head coaches. There are plenty things on the to-do list for Doug Peterson, Hugh Jackson, and Chip Kelly in their first camp with their new teams. But what should be their first order of business? Anthony, start us off with Doug Peterson and the Eagles.
Well, number one, I know my nephew's probably watching this live because he's a diehard Eagle fan. But Chip Kelly's era and time in Philadelphia ended so badly. He has to establish an identity.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is, because right now he's being looked at as Andy Reid light, or caffeine fiend and Andy Reid, if you want to go that route. But the thing is,
Andy Reid on a diet.
Yes, on a diet.
But the thing is, though, he played in Philadelphia. Remember, he was the bridge
Backup
gap
quarterback.
before Donovan McNabb came in. Andy Reid's first season back in 1999. Here's the thing, though. One of the biggest things he has to do that Chip Kelly lost the team last year, he's got to establish a connection and trust with the players in the locker room. Chip Kelly's falling out wasn't the win-loss record as much as the personnel moves that backfire. And when you move so many good guys and locker room guys, that could create friction within the other 52 guys in that huddle. And he needs to do that. He's going to establish a leadership committee, team committee. That's pretty important during the preseason. But when you look at the quarterbacks as well, he's already trying to squash a possible quarterback controversy. He always says Sam Bradford is the number one guy. Daniels is going to back him up. Carson Wentz is going to be the number 3 guy, maybe inactive most of the season. But right now, he's coaching for 2017 and beyond. 2016 is going to be more about kind of establishing himself, kind of laying the foundation for after the season, and the development of Carson Wentz is really going to play into how successful that Peterson can be in Philadelphia. He's played there, so you know how tough that city can be.
All right, Steve, you want to talk about Chip Kelly a little?
Yeah, well, Chip Kelly, who used to be the Eagles coach, is now out in San Francisco coaching the 49ers. And, you know, when you look at what the issues they have, it's all over the place. But I think the main issue is the quarterback scenario. I mean, Colin Kaepernick 3 years ago was the teacher's pet, if you will, of Jim Harbaugh. He loved the guy. He took over the job from Alex Smith when he got hurt. He actually got them to a Super Bowl, we all forget. But right now, Blaine Gabbert, and that's a name you probably haven't heard a lot, he actually has the edge to get the job as the starting quarterback. Kaepernick's got to really straighten up to have any shot at this point.
Yep.
All right, Jay.
Hugh Jackson, Cleveland Browns. All right. The quarterback whisperer, as he is referred to, guy had a huge hand in the development of Joe Flacco in Baltimore and Andy Dalton in Cincinnati. He needs his order of business. The first thing he has to do is, can RG3 be salvaged? Now he starts with the fact that he has a lighter touch than either Shanahan or Gruden,
Right.
which is good because it's obvious that that Griffin does not respond well to hard-nosed coaches.
No.
He's been humbled having his sit last year, watch what Kirk Cousins was able to do with the Redskins, which will be helpful to Jackson because hopefully it means that Griffin does not come in with an ego and he's open to everything Jackson has to teach him, and he has a lot to teach him. Shanahan tried to hide the weaknesses and bad skill set habits by adding spread concepts to his offense. Jackson's not going to do that. He's actually going to try and teach Griffin to anticipate passing windows, go through his reads, improve his decision-making process. And the good news in Cleveland is that after Johnny Manziel, the bar for quarterback play is ridiculously low, okay? He doesn't have to be the savior, and that should actually help him become a serviceable NFL quarterback.
Does Manziel ever play again, guys?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Does
No.
Tebow ever get invited to another training camp?
No.
Or get invited
He might.
to,
Sorry. I know
audition
that
for a
pains
team?
you, Sean, but no, I don't think so.
I think he might
Can I
at
ask a
some
question?
point.
Is LeBron James available to quarterback? Hey, he's
No,
available
but if
guy in
anybody
Cleveland.
needs a tight end,
Hey, I take Tony Francola right now at quarterback.
There you go.
You never know who goes down, and with
This
Tebow
is true.
staying healthy and not having those off-the-field problems, everybody else, you never know.
This is true.
All right, guys, that music right there means it's time for the 3-minute warning. Anthony, lead us off.
All of you basketball fans that spent the last few weeks whining over Kevin Durant going to the Warriors, I have news for you. Get over yourself. You're just upset because not only did Durant give himself the best chance to win a ring, he didn't go to your team either. Don't blame free agency or even LeBron James for a culture that you helped create. The one where you judge a man's greatness solely based on the amount of rings they have. NBA fans more than any of the major sports value individuals over teams. It's the fan that put a value on a team accomplishment like championships on the individual, not the whole.
Yep.
Kevin Durant's decision was solely a career decision that is lacking the ultimate prize, so you need to stop complaining. How can an NBA fan whine about loyalty when jumping bandwagons are more frequent than player trades? If you didn't complain about KG or Ray Allen, Green Lightning trades to play in Boston, or Shaq leaving Orlando for LA, then surely you have no argument.
Yep.
Kevin Durant isn't crying because you think he took the easy route. Bitter NBA fans won't have to worry since Model Sporting Goods will have Warriors gear on all sizes.
Ryan's fired. What's going down in Minnesota? In the category that reeks of what have you done for me lately, Terry Ryan, the talented Twins GM, was shown the door this week. Supposedly, this shook the foundation of their franchise. You're damn right it did. 2 weeks before the trading deadline, Ryan was made the scapegoat for their horrific 33-58 season and ousted despite all of his best efforts. The same man who brought in starters Hughes, Santana, Nolasco, and Pelfrey drafted Miguel Sano, third baseman outfielder, and drafted 5'2" talent Brian Buxton at number 2 in the 2013 draft, and they won 83 games, just missing the playoffs in 2015. But in 2016, is it his fault that Hughes had thoracic syndrome?
Nope.
Or that Buxton may never be the superstar they hoped for? Or that Sano should never have been moved from third base? Hey, Twins clownish hierarchy, this isn't New York. This team is known for patience, development, and chemistry. Where the hell is it now?
Good question. I see a bad moon horizon. I see trouble on the way. I see earthquakes and lightning. I see those bad times today. Don't go around tonight or it's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. John Fogerty, lead singer of Creedence Clearwater Revival, wrote Bad Moon Rising in 1969 when the country was on the brink of tearing itself apart a year after the deaths of Martin Luther King Jr. and Bobby Kennedy, and with the violence surrounding civil rights and anti-Vietnam War protests still making front-page headlines. Those lyrics, sadly, could just as easily be referring to the state of the country today. Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James took the stage at the start of this year's ESPYs to talk about the violence plaguing the nation. Acts of police brutality, reprisal attacks against cops, shootings in Orlando, Chicago, and Dallas, a system that's broken. They challenged their fellow professional athletes to follow in the footsteps of Jesse Owens, Jackie Robinson, Arthur Ashe, Billie Jean King, Muhammad Ali, and others. To do even more in their communities to create change, even when it's not convenient or comfortable, because it's necessary. To educate themselves on the issues, to speak up, use their influence, and most of all, to renounce all violence. The call to action by Melo, CP3, D. Wade, and LeBron was long overdue, and I was glad to see it. But a call without any subsequent action becomes nothing more than empty rhetoric. So I say to you fine gentlemen, what Jimmy Malone said to Elliot Ness and the Untouchables, what are you prepared to do now?
Tom Brady will sit out the first 4 games of the NFL season. And how does that make everybody feel?
Yay!
Now, those of us who wanted to see justice, we can gloat. But then, I gotta remember, he's still Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So the joke's on us. Ugh. What this comes down to is actually a bit ho-hum. Basic practicality. When the union, the Players Association, lost before the Federal Appeals Court and got denied a rehearing, it was a big deal, and it set in motion Brady restructuring his contract. He's getting less this year. He's losing a lot less money this year than if he actually served the suspension a later year. Also, what if Brady appeals again to the Supreme Court, and he actually gets a stay, and he takes that field for the first 4 games? But then, the Supreme Court declines to hear the case. He could miss critical games later in this season. And that really hurts the Patriots in terms of being able to plan for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Serving the suspension right now gives the Patriots certainty, and it also puts the issue to bed.
Finally.
So, this really was never about Brady accepting blame or punishment. He fought the best fight he could. And it was just the best thing to do right now when he's facing about 90 to 99% odds that the Supreme Court would never touch his case. For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, and Anthony Strait, I am Sean Roman, and thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. We hope to see you again on August 4th for another edition of On the Sports Lines, and that will be our Summer Olympics special.
Yes, sir.
So if you'd like to see this show again or catch up on any of those you may have missed, please check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines and look at our blog. Where?
OnTheSportsLines.blogspot.com.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Joe and Dennis.